Hello, in this video we're going to look at how to draw a wheel like this in OnShape. That's designed to work with little hobby motors that could be used for some small robotics projects. Okay, so if we go to a new document and it starts fresh like this, we're going to click here to create a sketch. Then we're going to choose the front plane to sketch on. I like to then view my project from the front by clicking over here. In OnShape, if you right click, you can look around in different dimensions, but by viewing it from the front, we get a clear view of what we're drawing. So first we're going to use the center point circle tool up here. There's different circle tools. We want the center point circle tool. Let's draw from the datum position in the middle of our document. And we want a circle with a diameter of 50 millimeters. Now you can see I've clicked once and then you can move your mouse around, but it's much more accurate to click again and then type in 50 and hit enter. That way you get exactly 50. We're going to do a 45 millimeter circle in that. So again, click once and let go, and then move your mouse anywhere. Click once again and type in 45 and then enter. Okay, so that's going to be the tread on the outside. And inside we need a little cutout for the shaft of the motor, the axle of the motor. So I'm going to swap to draw with a center point rectangle. There's a corner rectangle by default. You want center point rectangle. Again, let's click in the center datum and drag out. We want 5.5 millimeters wide by 4 millimeters high, like that. And now lastly, we've got to kind of curve the edges here. So we're going to draw with our 3-point arc tool and just click anywhere on this top line and then anywhere on the bottom line and drag out somewhere, but we want the radius to be 2 millimeters. You can see that it doesn't align nicely here, like it's sticking out. So here, this dimension tool we use a lot in OnShape. If I click on the outside of this once, and then I click on this line once, I can adjust how far apart they are, and I want them to be 0. I want it to be right on the line there. I guess while we're here with the dimension tool, you can actually use it to adjust the measurements of anything. See how this is 50? I could come and double click on this 50 and type in 55 and it would get bigger. Or I can type in 50 and make it smaller again. Once you've drawn something in OnShape, if I just put a rectangle over here, I can then use that dimension tool to adjust its dimensions. I don't have to delete it and redraw it. So the dimension tool is really a powerful tool. Okay, so back inside, we've made this line up nicely with our dimension tool. We'll do it again on the other side. 3-point arc tool, click somewhere on the top line, somewhere on the bottom line, somewhere out there, make the radius 2, then use our dimension tool from here to here, make that 0. Okay, I know it looks a little confusing. This is just our measurement line telling us the radius. So maybe that looks a little bit neater if I move those around. I like to have all my dimensions on the outside if possible. Great, that's our sketch. So let's click accept to accept that sketch. And now our next step is going to be to extrude it. Currently, it's just a 2-dimensional sketch. We're going to make it into a 3-dimensional object. So I have to have accepted my sketch, and then I've got this different menu here. We've got this extrude button, so we're going to use that. We're going to click on just the outside tread, if we can select it. Okay, so there's a couple of options here. Blind, it means it just doesn't know how far it's extruding. We could do it up to a part. We don't need to, so blind is fine. Let's make it 10 millimeters wide, our wheel. You could adjust that with your own designs. And then this arrow here, or this arrow, makes it go in an opposite direction. So it's either coming towards me from the sketch or going away from the sketch. I want it to be going away from the sketch in this case. So I'll accept that and I'll have the outside tread. Now you can see that my sketch kind of disappeared, all of those other measurements. It's still here on this tree on the side here. And I can click to unhide it, which I will do because I'm going to do more with that sketch. So I'm going to extrude again. I'm going to click this middle section now. And I'm also going to make it go away from me. And I'm also going to make it 10 millimeters. But here's something interesting with the extrude tool. If I add material, it's going to join those two things together. If I click new material, they're going to be separate parts. And it's going to indicate that by having them as separate colors. So let's leave them as separate parts. That's what we need. So now we have, but we still have a cutout and there's a full rectangle there actually. We should fix that. So if I double click on any of these, if I double click on sketch 1, I can go and edit sketch 1 or extrude 1 or extrude 2. So let's edit extrude 2 and just select the corners here, the outside corners. So the cutout we get left with is like the right shape for our axle. And we could leave this cutout going all the way through. That's fine. Or if we wanted a nice face on the outside of our wheel, we could do another extrude and choose the inside and send it in the opposite direction. This time just make it 5 millimeters, so it goes halfway through the wheel. And we want to add material so it becomes part 1 with this part here. So that way I'll have a cutout that only goes halfway through the wheel. Nice, that looks good. Now you can see we have 2 different parts, the tread on the outside and the center of the wheel. I could now, if I wanted to hide sketch 1, I could do that. I could hide some of our planes if I wanted to. Okay, next step is to work on the tread design. So I need to create a sketch inside my wheel. I'm going to actually hide some of my parts. So this is part 2 inside my wheel. I'm going to hide that, get that out of the way. I'm also going to turn off sketch 1 here. We don't need that at the moment. And I might turn off some of my planes. I might turn off my front and my right plane. So I've just got my top plane. So I'm going to create a new sketch on my top plane, and then I'm going to view it from the top. And there's a couple of things I can do to make my life easier here. This part, I'm going to be drawing in the middle of it. It's kind of in the way. So I could right click and I could make it transparent, which might be helpful to me. This time I'm going to use the line tool. I'm going to design my tread pattern. So, I mean, we can just start drawing what we think might look right, and then we're going to add some dimensions later. I'm going to do something like this. You could obviously design your own tread, but there's my shape. So let's use the dimension tool now and start adding some dimensions. Maybe I'll make this line 4 millimeters. And you can see the overall shape changed, the overall length. We don't want that to happen. We want our tread to go all the way to the edge of our wheels. So I'm going to add another dimension between these 2 corners and say that's got to be 10 millimeters. That fixed that problem. So let's go ahead and continue adding some dimensions. We can make this one 4 millimeters. Maybe I'll make this one's 4 as well. I can also dimension some angles. You can see this one's not a right angle. So maybe I want to dimension between here and here and say that's got to be 90 degrees. Looks better. Maybe I want to add a dimension to the thickness over here. It's very close to 2 millimeters. I don't mind that. I might make it 2 millimeters though. So that's good, that's fine. This is no longer in the middle. So maybe I'll dimension between this corner and this dot and make that 1 millimeter. That's looking quite good. I also might like to play with the distance between here and here. If I pull that up, I could make that bigger or smaller, which would offset how my tread looks. I think maybe 1 or 1.5 looked best for me. Okay, so there's my tread pattern. If I exit this transparent thing, I can accept my sketch, and I've kind of got the pattern of the tread that I'm going to use. I need to extrude that, and I want to remove material, and instead of blind, I'm going to go through all, so it cuts all the way through the wheel, and I'll bring it up to the top here so you can see what it's going to do. So that looks quite good. We'll accept that, but I need to make that a pattern so it goes all the way around my wheel. So there's a tool here called circular pattern, and if we choose that, we want to not pattern a part, we want to pattern a feature, and then we can choose the feature we want to pattern, which for us is extrude 4, and the axis we want to pattern it on is this circle. So now I can choose how many times I want this to happen. Just type in a number that looks right here. It will depend on how close you want the tread to be together and how big you drew your tread. So maybe 14 looks okay. I also need to click apply per instance so it does the extrude every time, not just that one time. So there you go, I've kind of got my tread pattern happening. Remember I hid part one, this is the center of my wheel, so I might need to bring that, like unhide that. And I have a wheel. So that works quite well. There's a few things I could do if I wanted. These are obviously optional. I could use the fillet tool and I could add a fillet which will round over the edge of my tread if I would like. So I could play with the radius of my fillet. And if I want to, I can apply that to all of my treads by clicking on them. So that might be something you would like to do. So there you go. I've got a wheel here that's compatible with the servo motor with some tread that I designed. You can obviously adjust this to suit your needs.